7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
After all these years,
Go
ladies
ahead.
and gentlemen, welcome back to Under the Learning Tree.
We're back.
And Larry, that's Jim. I'm Larry. Welcome back.
Yes.
Now, we should be remiss, because it would be unfair, and we are fair people,
We are.
that one of the founders of Under the Learning Tree is not going to be with us this
Well, not currently. at
Not
least.
currently,
Yeah.
anyway. We do want to let Corey know that we do love him. We do miss him. We understand that you're in a current situation right now, but
We're just down to the border of the state.
yeah. And you're nowhere near us anymore, so we just kind of,
Well, there's that.
I mean,
We had to go with it. We
Yeah.
had to go with it.
What-
And we didn't want to. We also didn't want to put this out there that we were going to do this until we did it.
until we
and
did it. And...
Made sure that it was going to work and everything else. But what we do have here,
Oh, you don't want to talk about on how you twisted my arm to get back
I
into
never
this?
twisted your arm. I never twisted your arm. I don't know what you're talking about.
Of course not. And I was
No.
like, you know what we should do? I was like, what should we do? We should
I
go
never-
back to Under the Learning Tree.
I
Why
never-
are we doing Under the Learning Tree again? Because nobody does the topics that we do. And you know what? You're right.
Well, I don't know that they don't
First,
do the
go
topics.
over this amalgamation that you have
What,
first.
what we have here, we have the boss,
Oh, absolutely.
Andre the
boss.
Giant, and he's got that lying yellow jabroni right there, because we
Yeah.
said we weren't going to crush Hesper Hogan on 80s Allies anymore.
Right.
We never said anything about Under the Learning Tree.
No.
No.
In fact, there was this one mistake that was made in the last season that actually allowed, and we should be remiss
Mm.
that he is still a very defeated bazillion or 0 to bazillion. So yeah, Hogan.
But here he is. Look at that. He's got him there. We got him sitting. Not that you can see it when he's down here on the table, but it's there for inspiration
Yes.
for us. And isn't that wonderful? And it's always good to see Andre beating up Hogan.
Always, absolutely, as it should be.
Yeah,
As
now-
it should be.
Now, for those people that never saw this show before, in the past, the way we did this, we usually were talking about wrestling from an independent wrestling perspective.
And an independent wrestling organization, which kind of got us way off topic
It's
from what
a lot
we
of times,
really
yeah.
wanted to be.
So this is going to be much more focused on just wrestling in general, and we're going to be talking a lot of things. It'll just come from the perspective of guys who've always worked in the indies and never actually worked for the WWE or what have you.
But
So
I've
that's-
seen their production. It's a huge production.
it isn't a huge production, so we're gonna enjoy ourselves and we're gonna have a good time, and hopefully folks will get into this and really enjoy it. And
Yeah.
we're gonna start with a very, very interesting topic here, Larry. Would you like to tell them all about it?
Oh, yes, a very, very interesting topic.
Mm-hmm.
Back when Larry first came back to the area, because as you know, Larry was in the United States Army and went away for a minute and learned some stuff and came back.
Is that what you call 2 combat tours? Learning some stuff.
And coming back, yes. It's
Gotcha.
the coming back part that's the real important part.
Well, you've always referred to it as the war after the war,
Yes,
and I think
the
that's
war
probably
after the
one of
war.
the more profound things I've ever heard.
Yeah, so in a way to get myself out of the war after the war, I decided to attend college because that's what my beautiful wife suggested. It's like, hey, you should probably go to college. You're intelligent. I'm like, that's a great idea. Let me try this out.
Absolutely.
Well, one of the first college courses that I took was English, and the requirement for English was coming up with a nonfiction topic that could be translated into possibly a tragedy, something that people should know about, something that is kind of like under the radar.
Yeah.
And I immediately thought of professional wrestling. Now, because that summer I had made my first appearance in a wrestling ring as a ring announcer.
Yes. Yeah. For Mal Havoc's company.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, for IJW, It's Just Wrestling,
Yes.
which had its inaugural and
I believe
final
final
show all in one night.
Yeah.
Which is amazing how things like that happen.
Yeah.
But anyway, while I was putting together this paper, I was thinking, what are the dangers of professional wrestling? Because if I really wanted to pursue professional wrestling as badly as I wanted to, I wanted to find out how I was going to get into it, and I also wanted to find out what was going to happen to me physically, mentally, and emotionally when getting into the business.
Yeah.
And truth be told, not too many people are talking about it to this day. It's been 8 years since I made that paper, and there really hasn't been too much reporting on it.
Well, I think part of that is probably because of the history of the business with regard to keeping things secret, or what we call kayfabe. I think that people largely, people in the business, they avoided talking about it because it would expose the business, if you will. But the truth of the matter is that oh, Christy, you're here.
Oh, Christy's
That's
here.
wonderful.
Look at that.
How stoned are you, Christy? Anyway,
Oh,
I think that to a certain degree, that's the problem, is that people have kayfabed it for a long time. And also, when we talked about this, about bringing this back, and this was done very quickly.
oh yeah, I was.
And when you brought up the topic, this is the way you wanted to start.
Mm-hmm.
I started to think about it, and I realized that there's the obvious way to talk about this, but then there's a lot more when you start peeling back the layers in terms of danger that you start to run into. Certainly, the biggest danger of professional wrestling is physical injury, which could be up to and including death.
Well, see, you're giving away the lead here.
Yeah, well, I am.
Or you're burying the lead here, because when we initially sat down to have this conversation,
Yeah.
you and I weren't friends yet.
No. So
We need to tell that story,
Well,
because this is
you're talking about the actual original interview.
we
for
are
college.
talking about the original interview for college, and then we're going to go into it,
Well,
because
I had seen you in the ring announcing.
you did
Because
once.
I was in the audience to support Havoc.
Right. And you were sitting there with our wonderful friend.
The Masked Mullet, which was actually the first night I met him.
Yeah, that's where I met all you schmucks. I met nice guy.
Yeah. Yeah, Mullet, you're not wrong there. I said,
And
apparently,
he is as high as
Giraffes.
giraffe testicles.
I mean, at least you're honest.
For a wrestling show, all those comments are completely accurate.
Perfectly normal.
Yeah, we are above board. In fact, we haven't lowered ourselves yet.
No, we're right at the level.
We're right where we
is
needed
it.
to be.
Absolutely.
We're at our apex. Anyway.
Yeah. So when you came to me and asked me for the interview, I had no idea who you were really.
Yeah.
And the only thing I knew, because of the last name, I knew that your mother had worked with my mother.
Right.
So I thought, well, I'll give the guy a shot here.
Mm-hmm.
But I was trying to, I don't want to say kayfabe it, but I was trying not to just expose the business
Right.
completely. So I was trying to be pretty serious about it and pretty to the point, and I kept it related for the most part to physical injury.
Here's the thing too. When I did start conducting, or when I initially conducted the interview, you've got somebody that you don't know from Adam. You don't know
Correct.
what this person's going to ask. You don't know what format they're asking in. I remember asking you to be recorded.
Yeah.
I don't know if that ever happened to you before or not.
A million times, but just because of being a performer all these years.
But as far as, and you gave a really great interview.
Thank you.
I mean, you really did. But we hadn't worked on our chemistry at all yet. But I could tell by the questions that I was asking, you thought they were going to be different questions, because you were assuming it was a different type of interviewer.
You knew more about the business than I thought you might.
Okay.
I didn't realize at the time that you had been such a fan of it for so long.
Mhm.
And so as a result, I was not prepared for some of the things. Should I not be? No, you should absolutely be here.
Oh
sir.
yeah, absolutely.
No. You should, and Iron Sheik for life, absolutely. This is why. Listen, Chris. This is why the Hogan is being demolished by the boss.
And
right
why,
here.
and why Mass Mullet is telling you to watch and enjoy,
Yes,
because we haven't even
exactly.
started yet.
No, not really. This should be a really interesting show,
Yeah.
to say the least. We might even get a little heat
Mike,
before the.
just
is
a
all
little
over.
bit. A little bit. We're definitely like skirting it. But after that interview, I turned in the paper. The
Yeah.
paper turned out phenomenal,
Yeah.
better than what I hoped for. But still, in the back of my mind, and I was like, okay, I know what to look forward to. I still want to get into it. You eventually, unfortunately, were looking for a ring announcer at that time, because the current ring announcer that you had, God rest his soul.
Yeah, he was sick, and we needed to do something.
Yeah.
And Corey Gebhardt, who is the Inferno and the promoter of Superstar Wrestling, shout out to SSW
Yep.
and to Corey.
Actually, we have SSW to thank for Under the Learning Tree.
Yeah, if
to
it wasn't
begin
for
with.
SSW, there would be no Under the Learning Tree. So shout out. But you know, we needed somebody, and I think I threw out your name, and he was like, "What do you know? If you talked to him, do you know him or whatever?" And I'm like, "Well, kind of,
Yeah.
you know." And so we reached out, and you know, the rest is history. You
Yeah.
came into the wrestling business.
It just all it was like the flick of a domino. As soon as
Yeah.
you knocked the first one down, they all just kind of magically fell. I
Yeah.
don't know how I like. Well, there are a couple of reasons why I fit in, but
Well, and it ultimately culminated in your last match,
yeah.
which was the drinking contest.
Oh,
between
absolutely.
You and I, and oh gosh, did we have a fun that night? And we got completely annihilated.
Yeah, my wife didn't have as much fun as I did.
She was not happy
She
with us
was
at
not
all.
very happy. Well, with us, you weren't the one who had to come in the house.
Well, no, true, but I tend to receive a certain amount of blame. You know, like for getting trees falling on you.
Oh yeah.
For the drinking contest.
Oh, yes.
Occasionally, I lead you astray, if you will.
Well, everybody needs a bad influence. You just happen to be mine.
Well, that's why we both have Chris Daniels.
Oh yes.
You do need to get here at some point, Chris. Absolutely. We will glad to have you on 80s Allies for sure. Or this show for that
Yeah.
matter. This is so anyway, we as you got into the business, you started to learn about the dangers of pro
The
wrestling.
true dangers of pro wrestling.
And as I said, we'll start with the one that everyone realizes is a major danger, which is of course safety. Obviously, when you're going to get into a wrestling ring, it's not a mattress.
No.
It's not it's nothing like that at all. It is steel. It is wood. There is about that much foam, and that is not an exaggeration.
The first bump I ever took on the original SSW ring, I lost my breath. I knocked the wind out of me.
Most people usually do on their first bump.
But that thing was like landing on railroad ties.
Yeah. Well, that ring was actually pretty soft because it was old and it had seen a lot of abuse.
Yeah, it had been worked in.
Yeah, when we get a new ring a few years back, when Corey purchased the most recent ring that we have, I remember we were setting it up in the driveway at his house, and something just didn't feel right. We weren't sure, but Corey went and took the first bump, and what we found out was that the manufacturer had sent us the wrong spring.
Oh yeah,
And
it had no give whatsoever.
No, it had no give. I was surprised he didn't break something. Honestly, on that bump, it was really really brutal. But over the years, if you do this, you're going to get injured.
Yeah, your body's gonna break down.
And I think that's one of the things that when you start to train, I don't know that all trainers necessarily tell you that. I know that I was not told that specifically when I got in, that hey, look, you're going to get injured.
Yeah, you're going to get hurt.
It's going to happen. But that really should be told to young people today. It should be noted that if you get into this, sooner or later, it's going to be bad knees. It's going to be a torn shoulder. It's going to be broken bones. It's going to be bumps and bruises. It's going to be a black eye, whatever. You're going to, as we say in the business, get color.
Yeah.
You're going to bleed.
You're going to get what's known as a potato. Somebody's going to slip.
Accidentally hit you harder than they wanted to. Every punch, it does make contact because it's not like a movie where we can edit it after the fact or you can use the camera and the fist is that far away from you. We have to make contact. We've got to. Otherwise, you're going to see it. So it's learning how to pull that punch and not hurt the other guy. The first rule of professional wrestling, as I tell any trainee, is protect your partner, protect yourself. And unfortunately, that doesn't always go to plan. And sometimes guys get hurt, and that's just part of the business. But when it comes to safety, and this is where I wanted to get into the next thing about safety, sometimes it's not about just the basics that you would think about that.
Before we get there, because we need to actually set a foundation for some of these young people who are going to get in it. There are two things you need before you get into the business. One, a main profession. At least have some sort of skill that you can do outside of the professional wrestling ring.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going here with the danger. Yeah,
have a living.
Yeah, you are not going to make a living at pro wrestling.
Not at all.
Unless you happen to be fortunate enough to get to AEW, the WWE, Ring of Honor, TNA. Unless it's one of those four, the odds that you're going to be making a living full time with no other source of income is probably slim to zero.
You have a higher statistic chance of making it to the NFL than you do as a pro wrestler. And that's just what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Mask mullet potatoes. Nobody gives potatoes. Well, I would suggest that they do because I've received a number of
Yes.
them in my career. Good God.
But yeah, have a profession and have an education. Learn some stuff.
Yeah,
Get something.
yeah. I think
It's the fallback plan. It's everybody that what I found to be the most dangerous in pro wrestling outside of what I think our major topic is people go in there without a plan.
I would agree with that. Although I think that the easier way to say that is that people go in with a dream,
Yes.
and not a reality.
There you go.
If you get into the business, you can't go in as what we would term a mark. In other words, you can't be in there as a fan that this is it and this is going to be everything and now I'm a wrestler and I'm going to, that's probably not going to happen.
You're not going to set the world on fire.
For every Roman Reigns, there is, 5,000 guys that never get out of the indies.
Yep.
They never get out of the blocks. So, just understand that if you're going to get into it and know that the danger is real, regardless of what level you're at. The injury is going to come, regardless of what level you're at. And so there, and it may come while you're in training.
Yeah.
Corey, who we were just talking about, I know that it was his, oh God. It was very, very early on that he got hurt. I want to say it was like his first match or something like that. I can't recall. Corey, if you're watching, let me know because I can't remember now and I'm blanking. I get hit in the head a lot.
That's his words.
Well, and it's true of all of us. We all get hit in the head a lot.
Yeah.
That's past a certain age. Today, that's another danger we should mention is that, medicine is a practice. The practice of medicine, which means it's constantly changing. We're constantly evolving. We're constantly learning. When I started, when Corey started, we didn't know anything about CTE. That was not something anybody knew. We started during the Attitude Era. So hardcore was a thing. Most of us that started in the general time frame that we started in, we did a lot of hardcore matches. We got hit with a lot of chairs in the head, unprotected. We did all these things, and that ultimately comes back to bite you
Yes,
as you get
it
older,
does.
for sure. Chris Benoit, who was a very famous wrestler, when they did the autopsy on him, they said that his brain was that of an 80-year-old man with advanced dementia, and he was 41.
And we are going to get into Benoit is going to
That'll
be
be a
its
topic
own,
in and of
own
itself
topic because
sometime or another.
there are people still out there that don't think Benoit did the atrocities that he did, but we aren't going to go over that right now.
Chris Daniels says he'll get in the ring and start headbutting mofos.
Yes.
We're certain that you would.
Yes.
I don't know how good that would be for your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the
it's-
rest of you.
No, there's that. But that's the danger is there, and guys have in Chris's case, not to go too far into that topic, but in Chris's case, he eventually, over the course of several days, took the life of his son and his wife, and then himself. So the injuries can lead to a lot more than just an injury.
It'll get really, really dark.
Yeah.
I mean, and speaking of dark, it's how people manage to cope with their life in a wrestling ring.
That's also the case. The traveling on the road, even if you're in the indies, the pain involved. A lot of guys turn to painkillers, and they
Yeah,
can
there's
get
no health insurance in this field.
No, and they can get very addicted. And here again, depending on the year that you started, back when I started was way before Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act, if you want to get technical, that's the actual term. So as a result, if you were a single person and you weren't working, you couldn't get insurance. There was no insurance for you to get. So yeah, now at least there's that, but still, it's very, very expensive. Again, you have to have a job. You have to have insurance. You should not be in a wrestling ring if you don't have medical insurance.
Right.
For any reason, should you be doing that? It's stupid and it's foolhardy, and you're risking your life.
So, yeah, and when you show up to your first indie show, the first thing you're going to see is not everybody's in shape.
That's a sort of another topic in and of itself. But I will agree with you.
But you need to be, if you want to understand the true dangers, you got to be in shape.
Well-
You've got to be at least, you're trying to be an athlete,
I
at
think,
least.
I think how that translates into danger is the danger of complacency.
Yes.
Guys get in, they start working, and the goal is to get in front of an audience. And so oftentimes they forget that that's just the final chapter, is being in front of the audience, actually performing the match. There's still the going to the gym at least 3 days a week, if not more. Especially if you're going to be a wrestler. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
we were doing it as managers. We were in the gym 3 days a week. So, a wrestler should really be working out every day. They should be at least going to a training center at least once, if not 2 or 3 times a week.
At least.
And keeping their skills up every week, regardless if they're wrestling or not.
Yeah, you will notice that the fundamentals will quickly disappear the longer you've been out of a wrestling
It's
ring.
like any other physical activity, martial arts, boxing, whatever. Muscle memory is a huge thing with what we do in wrestling. And so if you're not keeping those skills sharp, you're going to get sloppy. If you get sloppy, you start breaking the first rule of professional wrestling. Protect your partner, protect yourself. If you can't do that, people get hurt. There's the danger. So, everything is sort of this downward spiraling thing if you're not doing the things that you need to do.
Now, we saw personally. I'm not going to give any names.
No, we
not
don't
going to
bury
give any
anybody.
names. We again, that's one of the rules that we have here. We don't bury anybody on our show. But we saw this match happen in the ring with somebody that we thought was been around for a minute. Been around for a minute. Thought they could do the right thing and get in there and have an actual match. Well, we realized that this person had not been training at all, and it was a hope and a prayer that they could actually do this. Got in a ring with somebody who was trained. Looked like $1 bazillion, this kid. All right? Got in there, and as soon as they started working, the guy who was trained just made the guy who looked untrained look absolutely miserable. And just browbeat him while he was in the ring in front of everybody.
And truthfully, he should have.
Yeah, he was doing the right thing. I use the story because I remember the person telling me it because I was there wondering what happened to this guy. I go, yeah, I was there, and I was like, yeah, ooh, yeah, ooh, yeah.
Yeah, if you get in there and you're not doing what you need to do, it falls on the other guy you're working with, your dance partner, to kind of wake you up.
Yeah.
Sometimes that involves a stiff one or two, and sometimes it's a little more than that, if necessary. You like to avoid it, but
But let's just say this kid did not do the right thing, and after the match, he was gone. I did not see him at all the rest of the time I was there.
no.
Like, he just...
No,
He
and
removed himself from the situation.
I would like to say that that's an uncommon occurrence.
It is. It's a very uncommon occurrence, but it still happened.
But it happens. It does happen, and it happens probably more, I think, than is realized as a whole in the business. Not necessarily in the company we're talking about,
Right.
but certainly in a lot of other places, you see it on every show.
Well, yeah, there's a guy out there to make the other guy who's not doing his thing and is making the other guy look foolish, and I guess it's considered a receipt.
It can be. A receipt usually is somebody did
That's why I
something.
say considered.
Yeah, it's usually if somebody gets a little stiff with you, you got to get a little stiff back.
Yeah.
But
Just to remind the person that it's a work.
yeah, slow down. Watch what you're doing. Sometimes it's tighten up. Sometimes it's not a receipt as a result of somebody hitting you too hard, but rather a receipt because they're hitting you too soft.
Yeah.
If you've got somebody that's making you look like shit because you're there selling things that doesn't look like you should be selling them, sometimes you might gotta tell them, tighten up, don't let me look like a bitch.
Right.
I mean, that's something that's really, really important. So I think that's something that you need to keep in mind for sure. Are we having technical difficulties? No, it's just doing something special there.
Yeah, it doesn't want us to.
Oh, I see. It's
And
updating
then
while
we're out of it.
live. Look at that. That's what happens
Yes.
when you have a PC that's heavily powered and everything. It can withstand that without causing a problem.
Yeah, isn't it
whatsoever.
amazing?
Shared this live to the John. Thank you, Chris
Thank you
D.
very much.
We love you. Christy says his brain is shot anyway. Well,
Well, we're right there with you. Our brain is equally a shot.
Yeah, but there are to kind of transition. There are other dangers here that I think.
Yeah, there's outside dangers that people don't know about.
Yeah. One of the bigger dangers in wrestling, in my opinion, is it comes from the promoters and the creative team.
Yes.
In the sense that sometimes the people that are doing that job should not be doing that job. And as a result, they make decisions and start telling people, hey, we want you to do X, Y, Z.
Right.
And one of the biggest examples of that, where it went the worst it could possibly go, was the death of Owen Hart.
Yeah.
There are times in wrestling where the quest to compete and the quest to with other companies, or the quest to be the best or whatever, causes promoters and such to make decisions that are really, really dumb. And in that case, Owen was performing a role called the Blue Blazer. It was a superhero gimmick, and somebody had come up with the idea, wouldn't it be great if he rappelled in from the ceiling in superhero-like fashion? And the problem was is they couldn't figure out how to then get him out of the harness because he had to have a match. So the rigging team that they hired said, well, listen, we can put a quick release on it, and that way when he gets in the ring, he can hit this, it'll immediately disconnect, and he can go about his business and work the match with the Godfather. The problem was is that the quick release was not designed for a 250-pound man. And rather than say that to Vince McMahon or whomever it was that was addressing the rigging team, they said, not a problem, we're going to make it work, because they were trying to make money and get invited back.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, Owen got into the harness and was suspended approximately 80 feet above the ring in Kemper Arena in Kansas City, and the quick release let go. And he fell 80 feet and died right there in the ring.
Now, we should make mention that Owen Hart was a trained professional. Like,
Yeah,
he had
I mean-
been in the ring. He had, trusted that nothing was going to happen to him. This is unlike that kid who's been in the business for, 3 months? And wants to impress the promoter so he can be asked back, because there's a lot of that goes on.
Well, in the indies, that's where you see a lot of problems. Is that what will happen is, somebody's trying to get over, or they're trying to convince somebody. Sometimes it's the promoter, sometimes it's not. Sometimes the boys go into business for themselves and decide they're going to do something out there.
Well, how many times have you seen guys get slammed through glass without realizing what they were really doing?
In person, only a handful of times. Maybe, and we're talking maybe 2, but on videos online, it's extensive and it's ridiculous. Jim Cornette, who's a very famous manager in pro wrestling and has been around forever,
Only one of my favorites.
describes it as outlaw mud show bullshit.
Which it is.
When they start doing this, and it's very much the case that if you have guys that decide that this match all of a sudden, for no particular reason, needs to involve somebody going through a pane of glass, or getting hit with light tubes or whatever, a lot of times that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for the match. It doesn't make sense for the story. Where did the light tubes come from? All that type of thing needs to be thought about.
That was a conversation that we had last week too. It's like, where did all these light tubes come from, and how did they manage to get duct tape together?
Yeah,
because that leads to one of the conversations that you and I had back in the early days, as far as.
Well, I think we even talked about it during the interview. When we were doing that initial interview about the weapons and the hardcore match.
And my initial thought is, especially after doing some time, is you and I both know we're not going to the main show.
You mean like as far as getting to Monday Night Raw? Or whatever?
As far as talent goes, we are not going. Nobody is going to pay us to wrestle in the main show.
No.
All right, so. If no one's going to pay us to wrestle in the main show, and we're going to go to a wrestling show, there's no reason for us to take risks like that, because, we're not getting paid that kind of money. We're getting paid, at most, anywhere between $40 to $50, but that's because we're working the whole show. We're not taking any bumps. Even if we were taking bumps, we'd only make anywhere between $20 to $40.
Usually. I would say on the indie scene.
Scene. Yeah.
I would say that...
and now this is most pro wrestlers.
Yeah, I would say that at least as far as the weapons thing goes in the hardcore match, it's not that hardcore or the weapons or anything else are bad, per se, on their own.
Oh, we're on 2 different topics, because I know where you're going, and then I'm going to go my direction.
It to me, it's if you're a trained professional, you're trained to do these things safely. You are trained to take a chair shot. You are trained to go through a table. Even the light tube thing, if you've got somebody that knows what they're doing and does it correctly, you can do it relatively safely. And to be honest, if you're using that item, it's probably towards the end of the match, and it should be part of the finish. Because where the hell do you go after that?
Now, you
know,
should all know that I am absolutely against light tubes altogether.
it's not
And
well.
again,
I
it's a preference. I mean, if you want to use a light tube, go ahead, knock yourself out. I will not be around for it.
I'm generally against them simply because unless it's the main event and unless it makes sense, it's got to make sense how the light tube gets involved.
And I agree with you on that because you explained to me a match that you had where the dude reached up, grabbed the light tube out of the thing,
Right out of the ballast.
and that made all the sense to me because if you're looking for a weapon, boom, there it is. However, still wouldn't do it.
Well, and that requires a certain set of circumstances for that to happen. It was a match where ladders were involved, so there was a way he was up that high that he could get there. They were fighting on the ladder. You know, there's these things going on.
There's a process to get there.
Right, where the story makes sense that eventually you're grabbing that tube and you're using that. And I used another example with you is if you were in a building and at some point you guys are fighting out of the ring and there's a closet and you open the closet and there sits
there's some light tubes.
the light tubes and in a box and there's a bucket and a mop and all this type of thing that the building might have, and you grab a light tube out of desperation out of the box and crack a guy with it. Again, I think that makes sense. But you showing up to a wrestling show where you decided to build this contraption of 100 light tubes that you've taped together that you would then put in the back of your car and
drive it to the arena
and ostensibly drove these fragile light tubes 50 miles to this building and then managed to get there, get it out of the car, sitting in the locker room all this time, and then somewhere along the line you surreptitiously hide it under the ring.
Yes.
That makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. And it's
you
stupid.
gotta hide it next to the barbed wire that all these wonderful organizations seem to have.
Chris Daniels says he had a fluorescent bulb cracked over his head before. That was probably in a bar fight, though, knowing Chris D.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, and like we were saying, like next to the they put it next to the barbed wire that all these community centers just have in case
Yeah.
the Nazis invade.
Right, in the case they have to set up outside.
Yeah, checkpoint
Yeah.
or something like that, which is absolutely ridiculous. I don't understand the whole barbed wire thing to begin with. Like,
I don't even know where that started, to be honest.
they probably wrapped a ring around it and had a barbed wire match inside the.
Again, I think that you can make sense of it.
You can make sense of it to a point, but not off jump. You're not just going to reach underneath the ring and find barbed wire.
Right. It like ultimately, if you're going to use barbed wire, when there was going to be a death match, and that was the match, and so therefore they took the ropes down and replaced it with barbed wire, that makes sense. If you dangerous, but makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be a special kind of person that wants to watch that kind of thing.
Well, or to do it, you got to be like a Mick Foley.
Oh no, you got to be a special person to watch it. You got to be extra special to commit.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. There's been plenty of stories and things that I've done in hardcore matches, especially early in my career, that I don't think a lot of people would have chosen to do. But the Insane Sam Desperately, God rest his soul. When I would work him, there was a spot that we liked to do. Sam did an extreme act, or like a sideshow act. So he had a lot of things that he did that, in addition to wrestling. And as part of that act, one of the things he had was he had a spike about so long. And he would take that, they called it the effect a human blockhead. And he would put this in his nose and use a hammer and pound it into his nose. Now, what's actually happening, for the sake of you, I'll break kayfabe here, it's actually not going up his nose. It's actually going in along the top of the soft palate is where it's going. So at one point we came up with this spot to do in a match where, what if we had this, I make it look like I'm yanking it out of the ring somehow, and I use this to jam it up his nose. Now I'm not actually doing it. I've got it in my hand, and he looks like he's fighting me when in fact he's guiding it in. But the effect is, it looks like I'm literally ramming this spike up his nose. At which point he hip tossed me over him. And then he would stumble back and pull the thing out, look at it, lick it, throw it, and come right at me, and I'd drop toe hold him. And that was the spot we would do. And we loved that spot. But that spot was completely safe.
Well, yeah,
he had done it a million times.
doing.
Yeah, he was trained. He had done it a million times. Sam had been trained to work with fire. He would blow fire, eat fire. He'd swing poi, which is on the chains and some fire. He knew how to do that stuff and do it safely. And so occasionally he would get asked to do a fire spot in a match, and they would hire him to do it because they knew that he wasn't going to set somebody on fire
Well, and that
You know.
that kind of runs into something that happened last year, or on the last time we did Under the Learning Tree,
Yeah.
where some kid or some indie wrestler blew
Yes.
the fireball and burned half their face off.
Well, and here's the funny thing about that. After we did that, I actually ran into that guy on a show.
Really?
I did, and much to my surprise, he was not scarred or anything. He, by the grace of God, he got through that okay. But he explained that he had worked with fire for years, and what had happened, he forgot the normal fuel that he uses. They were in a bar, and he thought, well, okay, it's just once, I'll be okay. He decided to use a bottle of liquor, which of course is a much higher flash point. Flash point is the temperature at which something ignites. So the lower the flash point, the colder it burns, and the easier it is to put out, which is why you use a certain type of fuel. But he was using alcohol, not smart, and unfortunately, because he had facial hair, it got into the facial hair, and so when he blew the fire, boom, and that's what actually happened. He was lucky that he got away with it okay and unscathed.
But it's always that one time.
Yeah.
You don't take precautions.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Yeah, well, Chris says backyard wrestling sucks. You know what? It's not necessarily the location. When during the pandemic, a Superstar Wrestling filmed in Corey's backyard, and we produced really, really good shows, and no one was hurt.
No.
It's not that, but here again, you had trained professionals. It was just the location that we had the wrestling ring. So it's not so much the location; it's the yarding as a thing developed in the late '90s, and it was because guys were they wanted to train and they wanted to be wrestlers, but they didn't have the money to pay to go to
Or
an
know
actual
where to
wrestling
go.
school, didn't have anywhere to go, and so they would build these contraptions in their backyard that weren't real rings, and then they were out doing these crazy things, and it still happens. It's still very popular today, and it goes on. And these are people that are, and this leads to a next danger that you can run into, which is it's the attitude in the business or the personality in the business where guys are not necessarily the most emotionally or mentally healthy.
Oh,
As
we're
they
gonna go
should-
down.
yeah.
Before we get down that train, I want to. There's because that's our major topic. That is
Yeah.
one thing that we decided was our major focus, and we're gonna get to that in a minute. But we do need. I do want to make you realize something. You've got to pay for your training.
Yeah.
You got to pay for your gear.
Yep.
You got to pay to get down to the road.
Yeah.
You got to show up at the venue.
Yeah.
You got to set the ring up.
Correct.
All right. You got to get everything done to get to the show.
Mhm.
You got to have the show.
Mhm.
You got to break the ring.
Tear everything down.
Tear everything down. All right. So what? You're in 8 hours worth of work just for that day,
If not more.
if not more. Probably like a 12-hour day for you, because if you show up at noon, you're probably going to leave at midnight.
Yeah, it's usually a 12-hour day.
Usually a 12-hour day. All right. Plus the gas to get down there, wherever that venue's going to be.
Yeah. You got to feed yourself.
You got to feed yourself. You've already got your clothing. You've
Yep.
paid for your training. For a payout that's only probably going to be anywhere between 20 to 45 bucks.
Right. Sometimes more if you've been around
Sometimes if you do
a while.
more,
I mean, some guys are making $100 a show
Yeah.
or more, you know,
yeah,
if
but
they've
they've
been
earned,
around a while.
they've earned that.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
you have to earn to get there.
Yes. We call it paying your dues
Yeah.
in the wrestling business. And really, for your first 10 years, you can't expect to make anything. You
No.
really, really can't. You got to pay your dues for a while. And that's going to involve doing all the scut work, helping set up the ring, helping tear down the ring, you know, showing that you want to be there,
It
showing
took-
that you're dedicated to it.
It took me 5 years to earn that $20 bill that I have hanging on my wall.
Yeah, yeah,
Just to give you an idea of what it, and that was for commentary.
yeah. Yeah. It takes time to get to that point where you're compensated in the wrestling business. I think it's a little better now than it was when I started, but that's only because it's a different generation of guys that
Yeah.
are in charge, and for the most part, and that generation grew up not getting paid.
Right.
So they're a lot more cognizant about paydays and such now than they were, say, 20 plus years ago. But nevertheless, it's still a problem in the business for sure.
Well, and there's the big problem is some guys don't care if they get paid or not, which leads to what you were about to talk about.
Yeah, one of the things that we find in the wrestling business, especially once you're there a while, and even more so if you're in the office.
Yeah.
In other words, if you're in charge someplace, is that you run into people that clearly have some things they should probably see a mental health professional about.
Absolutely.
And I'm not talking about anything major. I'm not talking that somebody's paranoid schizophrenic or anything
No.
like that. I'm talking about people that have
Acceptance issues, depression, anxiety,
Yeah.
panic attacks.
you name it. You'll hear the term. The number of times I've heard guys say that wrestling is their therapy,
Is disgusting.
and every time I hear it, my adrenaline rushes, because that is a dangerous scenario.
Very much
You're
so.
taking somebody that is not emotionally or mentally in the best place they can be, putting them in a situation where the adulation of the crowd,
Mm-hmm.
the ability to perform, the ability to not be themselves and be somebody else,
Yep.
that they are bigger than themselves, becomes, that happens, and then that becomes that moment, and getting to that moment becomes the only thing. And so it becomes a drug in
Well,
and of itself, and it's very much an addiction.
And we broke it down. We broke it down last week as we were getting the premise of the show together.
Yeah.
Getting ready for the show, you got the adrenaline go.
Yep.
All right. Then you have the dopamine release, and then you have the endorphin release when
Yep.
you start getting pounded on.
Yep.
And then you have the adulation, the appreciation of the people around you
Yep.
because they're rooting for you.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you have that identity crisis that you were talking about, because now you're thinking that you're this other person performing a character in front of everybody. So now you're believing that you're something that you're not.
Yeah. Now, and some of the guys over the years, you'll hear the phrase "living the gimmick," and I think that probably the easiest way to describe that for somebody everybody knows, Ric Flair.
Yeah.
And he was the limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing son of a gun, and that involved him going out partying all the time.
All the time.
And that made Rick an alcoholic.
Yeah. And broke and married 5 times.
Yeah,
And divorced 5 times.
Absolutely. And so you sit there and you think to yourself, at what point do you start becoming a caricature of yourself?
And, right.
And that happens way too often in the wrestling business, particularly in the indies. People forget that it is a business.
Yeah.
You are there to do a job. You're there to make money. You are not there to feed an ego or to help yourself with whatever mental problems you're having by having an outlet like this. This is not the outlet for that. Go take a different hobby. Go crochet. Go, do whatever. But this is not the way to do it.
Yeah.
Because what typically happens with guys like this is, because the match is the focus and the show is the focus.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not really there to be a wrestler in as much as they're there for their therapy.
Right.
How often are they getting to training? How often are they hitting the gym? How, what is their cardio looking like?
How often are they hurting themselves or somebody else?
Correct. All of these things you start to add up. And so it becomes something where if you're in the office, you're looking at whoever it is that's in charge and saying, hey, look, I don't think this guy, and sometimes if you're not the person that's, the top dog, if you will, that decision isn't yours to make. You can advise,
Right.
but you can't just say, hey, look, this person's got to go because they're not doing what they need to do. Or sometimes you hear, well, so-and-so's such a sweetheart and we can't get rid of him. And, and then of course it's, now you got a problem. And, how long do you take this risk before something horrible happens? Because again, as we've said with other things, it starts here, but it's this slippery slope, and all of a sudden somebody is hurt or dead.
Yep.
And it's sort of like, what went on there? And sometimes it's by their own hand. If you have people that are this emotionally unstable, sooner or later, that comes back to bite them. When I first started in the business, there was a gentleman named Larry Sweeney. And Sweeney was probably one of the, especially in that time period.
Sweet and sour.
Yeah, he was easily one of the best indie workers that I knew at that time, was in the ring with at that time, and had ever seen. And that is up to and including today. Larry, had he lived, I don't think there's any possibility that he wouldn't have made it. He was that good. But Larry had his demons.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the evening that I got an alert that he had gone into a training center and hung himself off of the ring. And I never would have dreamed that he would have done something like that. But that goes to show you what we're talking about. If somebody is not emotionally stable and they're doing this stuff, and it's the adulation of the crowd, and they can't get that when they're not in the ring, and
Well,
you know,
Rockin' Rebel in
oh
Philadelphia,
god, yeah,
he was a character in his own right. I mean, he was just a very large human being. I mean,
Rebel was a cool dude.
depending on what side of the fence he was on that day.
If he liked you, you were okay. If you were in the ring and you were doing something stupid, you were probably going to get the crap kicked out of you.
No.
And he was known for back chops, which absolutely suck. But he eventually, he took his life. He took the life of his wife and then himself. And here again, there was another guy that I never would have thought.
Yeah.
That never would have crossed my mind that he would have done that. And that is the hard part, is that once you're in wrestling for a long period of time, sooner or later this type of thing happens,
And
you sit around going, how did we miss that?
And there's another example of a big dude. Like, he looked like a pro wrestler, but he was in the indies. There's a reason for that.
Yeah. Well, Rebel had been more successful than most to a degree.
I'm not saying he wasn't successful, but when we're I'm talking about.
But about at the time we're talking about, yeah. Then that's the danger, is that if people get into the business and they do so because they're trying to use it for a different reason than they should be. There's nothing wrong with doing it as a hobby. When I got in, I was at an age where I knew I was never going to go to the WWE. I was never going to be hired by anybody like that. I knew this was a hobby.
Oh, I got in it for research and turned out that I had a gift for it.
Yeah, I mean, I would never say that I got into this to make money, but on the other hand, I also didn't take massive risks in my career because I knew that I wasn't trying to, so again, if I was in a hardcore match, and I've been in a lot of them, I was always like, how safe can we do this and what makes sense? No, I'm not doing that. I never was one to take headshots unprotected. I've taken some in my career, but not a whole lot, and it's usually with someone I trust. The last time I took one was Michael Hess, Kid Mike, who's a local wrestler here. And, you want to talk about a guy who knows what he's doing. So, even though he accidentally picked up the wrong thing that he was reaching for and hit me with it, and it hurt, he still took care of me in there. And he called his own receipt of getting put through a table with Legos and Matchbox cars on it. So,
we were even... if that's what he wanted to do, I mean, it looked good, I guess.
It did, and I love Kid Mike. He's one of my favorite people in the business, and incredibly talented guy. But I mean, it happens, and you guys get in, and they don't do it the right way, or they've got some issues or what have you. And here again, not to out anybody or whatever, but I mean, we know plenty of people who've come back from being in the military.
Yeah.
And they have, as you've talked about it many times in different formats, the war after the war.
Right.
Where they they have PTSD or they have emotional problems or whatever. You go get, as you do, you get treatment for that.
Yes, because I have there are things that aren't computing with me anymore.
Yeah.
My fight or flight system is broken at best. I'm prone to mood swings.
Yeah.
And usually it's because I was told to bottle up, and men don't have emotions. Men are emotions, or whatever bullshit they come up with.
Yeah.
But I know that there was something wrong with me, and I needed to go get it fixed.
Yeah, and as a result, when you came into wrestling, you didn't use it as a a crutch or a therapy piece.
I used it as fun because I was trying to get. I was trying to see if I could do the thing that I wanted to do all my life.
But I know that you and I have, sat back and looked at people and just, looked at each other and shaken our head because we're like, we see what's going on there. And as this is a good point in the conversation, although off topic, to mention, if you are a vet and you are in crisis,
please go get somebody.
Please use your GI Bill. Please do the things you need to do. Don't be a hero. Don't think that it should be for somebody else and not you. It is for you. Mm-hmm. You did what you needed to do for our country, and you need to be taken care of. I've come off my soapbox.
His words, not mine.
Yeah.
You already know how I feel because I've been putting it out there since I showed up.
Yeah.
Like, why use, or if you're not going to use your benefits, boy, the person who's around really wanted to use theirs. They're not around anymore. You are. Mm-hmm. Use your benefits because they can't.
Please use
and
your
it
benefits.
and it benefits not only you but your family.
Yeah.
And the people around you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and that's the important thing is everyone needs to be healthy
Yeah.
and doing the best for themselves.
And you've got resources and outreach.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, here again, if you're listening to this and you are in an office somewhere, you know, you are your brother's keeper
Mm-hmm.
is a phrase we use in the business a lot. Do not allow one of your brothers to suffer like this. You know, sometimes tough love is the only type of love you can use, and sometimes it's best to look at somebody and say, "Hey, listen, I don't think you should be doing this right now
Right.
because you are not in a place where it is healthy for you to be doing it, and therefore it's unsafe." And you know, guys getting hurt.
We've seen people get hurt
we
because
have
because people are like, "Oh, this is my therapy," and then they drop somebody on their head, and you're like,
how is that therapy?
"How is that therapy? You just hurt somebody."
Yeah.
And,
You know,
and
that's
then you
not
just
therapy.
walked off. Like, I mean, you checked on him and said, "Hey, are you okay?" But that was the last you talked to him.
Yeah, and it happens. I mean, it does happen. You know, and sometimes you guys are another danger. You know, not to just change the subject, but this is sort of related to it. Some of the guys, they have an ego so much that their career is so important
Oh yeah.
that they don't worry that they're hurting somebody else. You know,
Yeah.
it's all about whether they look good or not, and they're not interested in whether or not somebody gets hurt. I think probably the most famous example of that was Ultimate Warrior, would be known for kind of
Just
being,
beating people up.
yeah, and there was a story where he was in the ring with Andre the Giant. They had
Oh, I love this story.
they had an angle going, and when there was a spot
Okay,
where
so this is what happened.
yeah,
all
there was
right.
a spot where
Th-
Warrior
This is what happened. Hogan's Warrior.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right, I throw you to the rope. You hit me with clothesline. I fall back into the rope. Okay.
yes.
Don't do it that hard. All right. Bam.
And he hits yeah, he he hits him at 1,000 miles an hour.
Okay. I know you hit me like that last time. Don't do it again. Okay. Bam.
Now, meanwhile, Bobby the Brain Heenan is outside the ring watching this every night, going ooh, and Andre, as he gets hit and goes into the ropes, goes
So on the last night,
mm-hmm.
we're gonna do the spot, right? Yeah, sure, go for it.
Yeah, and Andre just put his fist up, and Warrior
In
almost
fact,
died.
he's still doing this somewhere in the stratosphere. There's
Yeah.
this warrior
His
just
spirit
kinda,
is still tumbling through
just
space.
spirit, yeah, through space. Took him a while to figure that out.
Yeah. Yep. Now we have. Oh, see, now you moved them, and
Oh no! Now we have a perfect example of.
just beat them.
Sorry, there,
Oh, you hit him.
there we go.
There, beautiful.
Wonderful.
Beautiful. Yeah, so I mean those things do happen. Guys get stupid and do dumb things or whatever, or they call for moves that they don't know how to perform
Oh
correctly.
yeah, I saw or volunteer for crap.
Mhm.
Like we knew this one referee. The spot was called for a choke slam. He had never taken a choke slam before in his life.
Oh god, I remember this.
He took one, smashed the back of his head off the mat, and couldn't see straight for I don't know how long.
Yeah, and he didn't bother to tell us
Didn't
when
tell
he should
anybody.
have that. Hey, look, I've never done that
Yeah.
before. Yeah, if you're in the business, and especially if you're new, don't on a show is not the time to try something new. That's what training is for.
Yeah, I have told so many people no in very different ways because I wasn't able to do something and I
Yeah.
wasn't going to take it.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't be taking things that you don't know how to take for any reason. There's no reason to do
Yeah,
that.
Dusty Rhodes said it best. You shouldn't be doing shit you don't know how to do.
Yeah. There's been plenty of times where I've seen guys do something dumb and just get hurt for no reason, just no reason at all, and you're just sort of like, why are you doing this? Sometimes everyone wants to have that WrestleMania moment, but you can't have a WrestleMania moment unless you're at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and
It really is that simple. Like you can have a whatever at the XYZ convention center or a tire salon or wherever the
Yeah.
hell it is you're having a show, but you can't
will-
have a WrestleMania moment unless you're at WrestleMania.
you will always have that one guy. It doesn't matter what the venue is. There could be 50 people in the audience. Could be
Yeah.
150 people in the audience.
There
that
could be
want-
two people in the audience.
Could be two people in the audience that want to do the thing because they've never done the thing before and they want to say that they've done the thing.
Yes, yeah. That one's one of my favorite moments where I'm sort of like, are you stupid or something? Like, what are you doing? Or They saw something when they were a kid
Yes.
that had a profound impact on them when they were watching wrestling as fans. For instance, they might have seen The Undertaker and Kane in an Inferno match.
Yes.
And then decide one day when they're a wrestler, they're going to have a match involving fire. And what they don't realize is that was not Kane and The Undertaker having a fight with fire. That was Glenn Jacobs and Mark Calloway
Having a performance.
that were hired to give a performance in which Vince McMahon and his team hired a group from Hollywood to come in who were fire riggers, who do this for a living, who are insured to do this for a living, who are experts at doing this, who are using the right type of fuel. They were using protective clothing. They were using the protective cooling gel that goes on.
Oh, yeah, yeah. If you notice, when he caught on fire, he got on fire on the arm that was covered.
Yeah.
Not the arm that wasn't. And if you also notice where the ring was as in relationship to the audience.
Yes, and you also notice that they, the camera is right here. You're not seeing what's over here, which is the 12 guys with fire extinguishers.
Yep.
You're not seeing that. And so because they were kids at the time they saw it, they don't put two and two together that they were watching a movie. They weren't watching real life. And so what tends to happen is these guys, you're going to do it, and instead of using the proper fuel, they've got gasoline or whatever, and then they can't figure out why they can't put it out. And someone gets burned or hurt very badly or burn, third-degree burns. It's ridiculous.
Well, how many Sabu fans do you think are out there? Who are just jumping off of anything just so they can say that they Sabu'd somebody?
Well, I would say that there are a lot. How many of them are still wrestling?
Good question.
Probably not many. I would say that we, again, injury is a part of the game. But if you do stupid things, and that's another thing, another big thing that's dangerous.
Or if you're inspired by Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, well, any of those guys like that, Mick Foley.
Anybody who wants to fall off of something high.
Yeah, Mick Foley. Keep in mind, he was 35 when he retired.
Yeah.
He couldn't do it anymore. So that's something that a lot of people tend to forget. They forget that part. They forget that, Mick had a much shorter career than a lot of guys do because of the excessive hardcore stuff that he did.
And he felt he had to do that.
Yes, because that was what he was known for.
Even after, and that's my favorite part, is Jim Cornette, after Dude Love got over, going to admit, you don't have to do this anymore, man.
You're over with
Everybody
something else.
loves you.
Yeah.
Why do you feel the need that you have to do this to yourself?
Yeah, I think that type of thing is so dangerous. That's where I'm saying there's a lot of things that are so much more dangerous than just the possibility of getting hurt when you're working correctly. It's the risks that guys take for no damn reason where they end up getting the most hurt, or they're not necessarily hurt in the moment. But over the span of 10, 15, 20 years...
your injuries will compile up. I mean, not to bury the Young Bucks. I have feelings about them myself.
I do too. None of them good.
None of them positive. But we're not out to bury anybody on this show. But I guarantee you, by the time they're my age, their knees are going to be jello.
Well, the other guy that I would say that about is John Moxley.
Yeah, well, his whole body's just
Moxley,
cartilage.
These days, I see John do some really stupid things that I would expect to see in a backyard or on an indie show. And yet there they are. They've got a billionaire as an owner. They've got national TV deals. And he's getting bats with spikes on them driven into his back. And you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? You don't need to do that. And the worst part of it is, again, because of my affiliation with Sam, one of the things he also did was laying on a bed of nails. And as soon as I saw the video of that stunt, I knew what they had done. If you look at the device, they had built that in such a way that they believed what was going to happen is, it'll just be like a bed of nails and it won't go in.
Yeah.
I'm certain that was the conversation. I remember, I think I told Corey at the time, because we were, as soon as I saw it, I said, that's what he was trying to do.
Well, yeah, and the collection of nails, if the nails are
close enough
together,
et
it's going to...
And that's why they were so close together, and that's what they were trying to do. I'm certain that's what they were trying to do.
Didn't work that way, did it?
Well, the problem is that there's another part of that. Here again, you need to know how the sauce is made before you make the sauce.
Yeah.
And they didn't know how the sauce was made. And so as a result, the thing they didn't do and didn't realize is that you can't take it and swing it like that. That's why you have to lay down on it in a certain way in order to make sure that you're hitting it perfectly, that it doesn't pierce in.
Well, that's why what you're talking about is you need the least amount of slack when you're using that kind of.
Correct. And so if somebody is swinging it, you can't take your own bump, so
Right.
to speak. And as a result, you know, it was going to go in. There was no chance that it wasn't. And just stupid. And I don't know why. I can't believe Adam Copeland signed up for that. I don't know why he was involved in that. I don't know why he wanted to be anywhere near that. I would not have wanted to be. And you know, you could see after the injury happens, you could see them fighting to figure out how to get the spikes out of his back because the match isn't over yet.
Yeah, of course not.
Why would the match end with that?
Why would it end like that?
No, of
Yeah.
course not. Why would we end it there? We've got to keep going and doing some more stupid things.
Well, and speaking about ending things,
Are we did not go that far. Oh my God, we did.
yeah, we ran an hour.
Wow, we
It's like-
sure did.
Do you want to tie a nice bow on top of this?
I would say, okay, yeah,
Because we got some other things to talk about after this.
yeah, I would say this: if you're going to get into wrestling, watch this show, then watch it again.
Yeah, watch it a
then,
third time.
Then go to training, and then come back and watch it a third time.
Mm-hmm.
And take these things to heart. You want to have a long career, and you want to be able to.
And we haven't even scratched the surface on the dangers because there
No.
are other things that
No,
you need
yeah,
to be
of
worried
course.
about.
And yeah. There's the people in the business that get in charge, and then they shouldn't be in charge because they're imbeciles and they don't know the history of their own business. Gonna leave it at that.
There are people who get in the ring under substances, and people
Absolutely.
who are drunk that you might be stepping in the ring with. There
Yeah.
are people with injuries that they aren't
They don't
telling
tell you about.
There's things that they're wearing that you don't know about.
Yeah.
Like you don't know if you're working with somebody who's got a hard knee brace on that you're going to take in the wrong way.
Mhm.
There's predators in there that we haven't even
Oh, God.
scratched the surface on.
Yeah, Jesus. There's so many things that can go wrong and so many things that can happen. So we've hit on the basics and the big ones, but there are a lot more. And just
We're going to have to review this topic again.
yeah, I would say so. Or we'll address some of those things in individual episodes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's it. We are back, and Under the Learning Tree is here, and we have, I think we had a really good show for our first time.
Yeah,
out
for our
again.
first time out again, it's been a hot minute. I mean, we definitely have more comfy chairs. That's
Yes.
for sure.
Yes, make sure to like and subscribe and all those
Yeah,
things.
like, share, and subscribe. You will see this up on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we'll ever do another. We'll probably do some more live events.
I would
mean,
imagine we will do live ones from here and there, and
Yeah,
all that sort of thing.
I would think that it would be something that we'd be accustomed to, even if we just did them randomly and then had a set schedule for setup where you can see these all
Yes.
somewhere
Yeah.
at one point in time.
Yeah.
Kind of
Absolutely.
jumped ahead of myself on that one, didn't I?
I mean, just a little.
Just a bit.
But, hey, if you want to give yourself more work, who am I to get in the middle?
Yeah, who are you to get in the way of me over burning myself out? But the topics we have coming for you in this series are we're gonna review the weapons of wrestling. We're gonna go over tag team wrestling. We're gonna go over managers in wrestling. We're gonna go should you decide to be an independent wrestler? This is how you should pack your bag.
We're going to talk a lot about psychology.
Psychology. We're gonna talk about what kind of gimmick you should use and how it pertains to you, and then we might lead to something a little special that we've been working on.
Absolutely. You never know. You might see a guest or two here or there. Things happen.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a guest or two.
Yeah.
So if you're out there, go ahead, reach out to one of us,
Absolutely.
Jim or myself, and we will try
we
to
can
figure it
always-
out.
Listen, we can always look at this. They just choke Hogan.
Oh,
out.
we can choke the Hogan now?
This is fantastic. Look
Yeah.
at this. This is wonderful.
We-
Action figures are so good.
We need to bring some other characters in on this.
Oh, we could. I got plenty of them.
Oh, well, and on that case, or on that note, or somewhere along those lines, that's Jim. I'm Larry. We'll see you next time at Under the Learning Tree. Bye, everybody.